Hello and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And welcome back to your podcast. It's everything not top six. Tired of your team being last on match of the day and not getting the flowers that they deserve? Well, that's about to change because we're here to shine light on the other 14 teams. So Tom, how was your bank holiday weekend? You get up to anything crazy?
A bit of a tough one for me. My cat sadly passed away on Friday. You met her. She was all about food, naps, and cuddles. So sad one for us. It was sort of really unexpected and out of the blue. Just sort of grieved her a bit over the weekend, and then sort of bank holiday Monday decided to find a distraction, and I've downloaded Football Manager and started a West Ham save. So yeah, it's like a second job for me.
Yeah, that's sad times all around, but I mean, yeah, you're going to be non-stop on Football Manager. How are you going to time in Football Manager with a new job as well? It's going to take over.
It's my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5.
See in the morning, dipping your face in cold water, getting ready.
Just everything is like spreadsheets and email. What about you though, man? How was your weekend?
Yeah, I had a really, really hectic one. We had a wedding, the first wedding of my best mates group down in Devon, so it was about a 4 or 5 hour drive down there. Then like pre-drinks the day before the wedding, and then the whole wedding day, just like a big day of everything. But honestly, like, I love a mate, but he's like Mr. P's perfect, and everything on his day went perfect for him as well. So you just resent him a little bit. How's your life so perfect?
I mean, it looked beautiful. The weather was nice.
Yeah,
I saw some of the photos you shared. It looked like a really good weekend.
Yeah, they got everything like perfectly, and they deserved it all. In all honesty, as well. I mean, it felt weird for me having to wear a suit for the first time in ages as well. Everyone was like, "Wow,
you looked uncomfortable wearing a suit."
Everyone was like, "You look so nice. You should do this more often." I was there like, "Just want to be in a Palace shirt and basketball shorts again.
Get me a tracksuit back on."
Yeah, literally. But then, getting back yesterday because of traffic, unfortunately I couldn't make it back in time for the Palace game. To be fair, I was on my last legs as well. It's like, if I go to this game and it turns into the game I think it's going to be, which was like two teams that don't want to play football and just like wait for the other.
It went on for like 100 minutes as well, so you would have been more annoyed.
I would have passed out in my seat, probably just passed out standing, like swaying backwards and forward, half from sleep depression and half from just being hungover. Yeah. Oh mate, but no, all great weekend all round though. But yeah, I mean, should we start with a little break and then get into all the matches?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice, cool. Catch you in a sec. Cool, and we're back to review last week's games. So Tom, where do you want to start with the games this week?
I think there's a couple of places that we could start, but I think one that was really intriguing was Bournemouth's away win at Arsenal. And this one was just like, for 60 minutes, Bournemouth had to suffer. Like, Arsenal were the better team. Bournemouth were just sort of like, all right, keep it low. They had a couple of chances that Evan Nilsson had in the first half, but from about 60 minutes on, Bournemouth were the better team, and they were pressing. They were sort of catching Arsenal out, and they ended up getting a couple of goals late on, and a famous win. And they've done the double over Arsenal this year, which, credit to Bournemouth. I know they've had an excellent season, but that's another sort of like thing to add on to it. Yeah,
I think you're pretty much bang on with it. From what I've seen from the highlights, it just seemed like Arsenal were knocking away at Bournemouth for the whole time, and I think the feedback on most things were Arsenal not taking their chances, or I think it was Arsenal not shooting in the right scenarios, and I just wanted to be like, well, there's a reason they're probably not shooting those scenarios, because they're not in good positions, because Bournemouth's defending was pretty... It was like a brick wall at the back for most of it, keeping Arsenal out. I know Rice's goal was the one they conceded, but I think they really put Arsenal in hard positions where they couldn't really just be putting shots in on the go.
Yeah, they did a good job of it. Like, as we know with all the other 14, at times you're going to have to suffer, and like you're going to like play without. You have to play well without the ball as well as play well with the ball. So I think Iraola will be really happy with it, and especially, I don't know if Bournemouth have a set-piece coach, but they've got to be happy with the set-pieces from the weekend. The first one.
I was going to say, basically, you have the set-piece kings in Arsenal who can't defend that piece, it seems, because who saw the Semenyo long throw coming? I didn't know he had that in his back pocket.
What are your feelings about long throws? Because my personal feelings, I kind of don't like them. But that is purely stems from having watched Mikel Antonio try about 100 and they never seem to come off.
We have the same with just Jefferson Lerma. I always have a joke when he's doing a throw, the person next to him, just like, here comes the medium throw. Because he's like, gone to do it, he doesn't really make it into the penalty box. You know what, I've got the love for Rory Delap and his long throws and always did. And I think...
That, full credit, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the way he got it, it's more than a cross. It wasn't like a looping one, it was like...
Low trajectory,
like,
yeah.
But
but like this one was really good from Semenyo, and Huijsen got the nick on it, and it goes straight in. Like
it's perfect header he gets on it as well to score it, isn't it? The way just like
the perfect like flick into the far corner, but quite cleverly from Semenyo, like he moves about 10 yards away from where the throw should have been taken, because it goes out like right next to the corner flag, and he takes it from the 10, like I think there's a marker next to the pitch for about where 10-12 yards is, and he takes it from there, and like that obviously gives him a much better angle to go, like to get it the trajectory right and the angle right, so that Huijsen just has to get a flick on it, rather than if he'd actually taken it from where he should have, he probably would have had to get a lot more redirection on it.
Yeah.
And then they scored a second one late on from Evan Nilsson via a corner. This one, it was I think Evan Nilsson had a little bit of a cheeky smile on his face, because it seemed from my eyes to come off his elbow. It's like in his midriff, but
I was going to say the same as you, because you see the VAR replays, they're like, that's clearly not going to get given, because it looks like it nestles and like kind of is going up, and then it hits his arm, and then it like bobbles in.
It's the way the ball redirects, isn't it? Like after it's made the contact, and how it goes like at essentially a right angle into the goal. Like it's like, oh, that really wouldn't have happened if it had kind of hit his like chest. It wouldn't have felt natural, but because it looked like it hit his elbow, it like juts into the goal.
Well, you know what? I'm happy that wasn't overturned, because I was like, if a team doesn't need more VAR help, it's probably Arsenal. So it's nice for Bournemouth to get that win there. And like you say, it's a famous away day for Bournemouth fans. Not many teams can say they go and win an Arsenal. I mean, you've had it this season, luckily, in between all the other results. But yeah, I think great day out.
We have, and I mean, it's like that victory for Bournemouth is so important. Like as we've sort of like spoke about like the last week with the battle for that 8th position. Like I really do think there'll probably be 8, maybe 9 in Europe next season. And Bournemouth getting that win, there's actually 4 teams now, because Brentford have come up like out of nowhere and come into that. So there's like 4 teams almost racing for those 1 or possibly 2 European spots, and for Bournemouth to get that win, which was probably unlikely, or one that they may not have banked on, like that's going to be massive for them, and yeah, that'd be like, hopefully they can get on that and crown off this excellent season with a European spot.
Yeah, it kind of puts my talk last week in the bin, doesn't it? Saying that I think Brighton will probably most likely won because their run of games, but with Bournemouth now, they still have difficult games coming up. I think it's Villa and City, and then Leicester. I think they've got to play on the last day, so they've got a long way to go still. But having that extra point compared to Brighton and Brentford, I think probably puts them in pole position. I just know it's going to be Brighton and end up getting that last position. But if you do think it's going to go down to ninth, maybe I think I can see him getting it. Any other points to take for that game? We can move on to, I think, Brentford United.
Yeah. Let's move on to Brentford United. Yeah. Like
high scoring 4-3 affair win for Brentford. What are your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, so this one, obviously we have to quickly touch on Brentford also winning over Forest on Thursday, where a Route 1 performance got them 2 goals and the win away at Forest, which was excellent. But in the Man United win 4-3, for me, there were a couple of really key players on show in this one. Obviously, Kevin Schade gets a couple of goals, and one stat I saw that was quite intriguing was there's 3 teams in Europe's top five leagues this season who have 3 different players who have scored 10 goals. Do you want to take a stab at who the other 2 teams are?
Is one Barcelona?
Yeah, Barcelona's one.
The other Bayern Munich?
it is.
Yeah.
So Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Brentford.
That
They
feels like we've just rehearsed that, but we actually haven't. I think I had it in the back of my head because I saw the stat go up on someone's on an Instagram somewhere, but that's not me. You trying to blow smoke up my arse or anything there. It feels like, but yeah, nice. But yeah, like you say, the three of them getting those goals, getting 10+ goals. It's crazy to think another Premier League side hasn't done that yet this season, isn't it?
Yeah, but it just goes to show like how key those players are for Brentford, but also that they mix it around a bit. Like I think in previous seasons they were possibly a bit reliant on Tony. Like obviously Embuemo was decent in that period and they linked up well, but I think this season especially they've just really sort of shared out and really epitomised like Thomas Frank's like team ethos. Like it's the way that he coaches and everything is all about the collective and like like we've said before, like one week it'll be Embuemo, another week it'll be Visser on the score sheet, and like this week it was Sharda getting a couple. So like they really just share it out, and it's all about the team and the performance more than just the result. And then the result has been coming with these good performances. But the other player I wanted to talk about was Michael Kayode, who we mentioned on the podcast a few weeks ago when he came on against Arsenal and had a pretty important like impact to get a point at the Emirates. And then in this one, he got a couple of assists. He was always available on the right, and I'm not comparing the two as players at all, but I just wanted to briefly mention as like an impact of like a young player and a trustworthiness. As like in the Champions League last week, we saw how important Lamine Yamal was for Barca and how all of their players were very happy and wanted to pass to him, and it felt like a version of that for Kayode against Man United. Like everyone at Brentford was like ready and willing to play off him, play 1-2s, like use him as an overlap and everything, and they trusted him completely. And for a lone player, like I always say, don't fall in love with lone players, but I would hope for Brentford's sake that Kayode continues on this journey with Brentford and they can sign him permanently.
Yeah, he looked dangerous all day, getting up and down the pitch. It's just, I don't know if it was because he was given that space to go into, but when he had it, he exploited it perfectly, and just they were getting balls in constantly. One thing I noticed, like in the first second, you got Luke Shaw nearly scoring an own goal, and felt like United's defence just wasn't at one with its keeper the whole time. I feel like Brentford just exploited that perfectly with putting balls into dangerous areas where a defender couldn't deal with it and the keeper weren't coming for it or was coming for it, and then like making a mess of it all. So I think, yeah, Brentford excelled in that, and the only thing I'd say is Brentford really should have been far and away winners in this game. They shouldn't have been a 4-3. It should have been more of a 6-0. Like they were 4-0 up at half time when they played them a few years ago. It should have been like that all over again in this one, really.
Yeah, definitely. And then they let Man United in towards the end of the game with a little bit of bad goalkeeping, bad defending to let those couple of goals slip. But so 4-3 sounds a lot closer than it was. Like obviously the last one is in the like 95th of 98 minutes of extra time sort of thing. So like it sounds a lot closer, but you know, Brentford don't do dull. Like I swear every week they're exciting. Like they score goals. They play the football the right way, but they also have like versatility. Like we mentioned with that win over Forest, like the 2 goals come from Route 1. Like, hey, we're gonna like Forest are happy to defend deep, so why don't we remove that from being a possibility and catch them out?
If you spoke about that game, you'd probably go into that game thinking, oh, the person that's going to be playing the Route 1 football in that is Forest, up to Chris Wood. But then you have Thomas Frank turning the script on them completely, and them getting 2 pretty well-deserved goals in that game. And I think they were made to look pretty average by Forest were made to look pretty average by Brentford in that game. So it's, when you look at it, when they get found out, you're kind of thinking, how have they almost gone into a Champions League position this year? But it's because lesser managers, I think, like from bigger teams, have gone out there and been like, okay, we'll play our game on against Forest, whereas really they need to be looking at how they can play Forest game against them. But I think another thing
it's massive credit to Frank.
Yeah, massive. One thing I did take away from the coverage on Match of Day is like the feedback on it turned into a mini United podcast because Wayne Rooney was on there, I believe, and it went into like basically talking about the under 121 setup for United. It's just like should really be giving Brentford like all the credit you possibly can in this, like especially
Right, Brentford are just like on a tear right now. Like, why are we talking about United when they literally that match didn't even matter for them? Like,
yeah,
it
and
has no impact.
they showed they didn't even care for the game as well. It was just just wasted
Yeah,
it.
they literally were just like we'll rotate, we'll rest and everything. But that like those two wins put Brentford in such a good position where they weren't like last time we did the podcast, we weren't really talk about them. We were saying there's like three: Bournemouth, Brighton, and Fulham for that eighth spot, and then Brentford a week later have got 6 points added, and they're right in that mix. They're currently ninth, and like they've got Ipswich next.
Ipswich then
Would
Fulham
expect
and
them.
Wolves. It's good run. That Wolves game becomes. I'm sorry, not Wolves game. That Fulham game becomes absolutely massive. A West London derby for Europe, pretty much. If we're going to put it that way, that's going to be that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, with obviously like the title tied up and the bottom three all sorted, like the race for those European spots is really all we've got left to hang our like for the excitement for the rest of the season, really. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how those four teams shake out for what's probably a Europa League, maybe a Europa Conference League spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you got anything else on that one?
Maybe just touch on two more things quickly for me. Do you think Brentford should have put the ball out for the second goal? Was
No.
this, they shouldn't, should they? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's like,
No, I mean, the ref can stop it if he wants. It's not a head injury. I'm fully like for the Man United players. Half of the team stopped defending when De Ligt went down. So I'm all for Brentford playing on, play to the whistle, and get a goal. Like, yeah,
yeah,
that's my view.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Then my other thing is just Flecken has been one of the best goalkeepers I think in the league, especially when they played against us. He's been a brick wall. To see one squeeze through his legs was like it's nice to know he's actually human to me a bit.
Well, Flecken does have a howler in him. I don't know if you remember or if you've seen online a time from his Germany days, but he once, I believe this was Mark Flecken in goal. A goal went in and he was busy taking a sip of his water.
Yes,
He wasn't watching the play.
I didn't realise that was him. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is him. Like, I don't want to be talking out of my side of my mouth, but I'm pretty sure that was Mark Flecken who that happened to.
Oh no, love that. Cool, but yeah, that's everything I wanted to take away from that one. Should we move on to Villa's redemption for the FA Cup disappointment? Their 1-0 win over Fulham.
Yeah, 1-0 win for Villa. Tielemans in the 12th minute, a bullet header from Tielemans,
Proper
which
bullet header, wasn't it? Like I didn't know he had that in him either. Really,
not at all. No, not at all.
it was just like I don't know if you saw some of the coverage on it, but it's how I think Lukic, the defender, is basically following camera the whole time, and then Tielemans just walks into the gap that's left, and it's pretty much like first man from the corner, header, bang, rocket in, no stopping it whatsoever. And yeah, I think Tielemans had a game of just being lively across it all, like being the midfielder you kind of expect him to be, and like the midfielder that you saw bossing games for Leicester for a couple of seasons. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was only his third header in his career.
Right, in all honesty. He's known for more screamers, isn't he?
Well, that's the thing. He later on I think it was still in the first half, he had an absolute worldy effort that just got fingertips to it from Bernd Leno, and like that I was watching it and I was like, oh, that's the goal I expect Tielemans to score,
exactly
not the bullet header.
Yeah, exactly that. That's it, isn't it? What else did I take away from the game? I didn't realise Watkins was so close to being Villa's top Premier League goal scorer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he only needs one more to get that record. Well, top Premier League goal scorer, which I think is a bit mad. With a club like Villa's size, you'd expect them to have someone there, but I guess it just shows how many goals he's been scoring, like over a short time period.
Yeah, the past couple of seasons he's bagged them in, isn't he? Like 20 plus goals, I think, in each of the last two, or roughly 20. So like that adds up, and I think Villa are a bit similar to West Ham, like where we've had obviously a couple seasons out of the league here and there, but we've also had a lot of like nomadic strikers,
Yeah.
and like Palace are similar. Like we don't necessarily have someone who's up to 80 plus goals or like 100 plus goals in the Premier League era. Where like our top scorers are in the 50s and 60s sort of thing.
Yeah, that's bang on with us as well. I think 68 were for Wolf and then the rest are in the 30s. But Mateta will be at 100 by the end of next season anyway. So yeah.
Anyway, back to Villa Fulham. Just to continue on Villa's, I think they probably edged it overall. Like I think they had the better quality of chances.
Yeah. I'd agree.
And I think, like as I've said before, like I watch a lot of Borussia Dortmund as my second team, and Daniel Marlon was signed by Villa in January, and the bad Daniel Marlon turned up in this one where he spurned a couple of chances that you'd be like, come on, mate, you should probably be scoring that. Like,
He had one that went across the box, and then one where he outpaced Anderson and just put it right at the keeper. Or did he put it wide? I can't remember. It was one of the two.
I think he hits the crossbar. I think he smashed the crossbar. Yeah, but the first one, he just like it just doesn't get a good connection on it, and it goes out for a corner, a goal kick. But yeah, like obviously, if he could have got one of those, then it would have looked comfortable for Villa. But from a Fulham point of view, I think they'd probably be, like, as I say, Villa probably edged it. I think Fulham will probably feel like they were unlucky not to get one because they managed to keep Villa out, except for the Tielemans goal. But there wasn't, like, I don't know, Fulham, they were hard to read in this one. I think Iwobi was good again, but everyone else kind of went through the motions a little bit. And
Yeah, you say that, but I still think they kept themselves in it at Villa Park. Like, they had their chances. I think you're 100% right. Villa probably were deserved of the win. But, like, a lot of teams have gone to Villa Park and gone one down early doors and crumbled. You see Newcastle completely fall apart there. I think Fulham have shown, like, why they are where they are on the table. Yes, they're inconsistent, but they showed enough in this game for me just to be like, okay, that's a decent team you have there. And I mean, they nearly had a go with Session's disallowed handball. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. By the letter of the law, it's a handball now. Would you agree?
yeah, I think that was definitely one. Like, he's obviously not meant it, but it clearly changes the direction of the ball, and it sits up perfectly for him. Like,
I thought he changes it, like, kind of out of the perfect setup for him, and then he like, manoeuvres back to it and then gets it. But nah, I agree with you on that one. But yeah, I think Fulham they're not, like you said, Brentford are probably in the strongest position to get that European place now, aren't they?
yeah, I mean, I'd be hard to back Fulham given their form in the league is 2 wins out of their last 5 and 3 losses, when like Brentford and Bournemouth are in much better form, and then obviously you've got Brighton in there as well. It'd be hard to back Fulham. Like, obviously the last 3 games are going to be massive, but yeah, they've just been too inconsistent for me to say that they're going to pip one of those others to that spot. But on a Villa point of view, trying to get into the Champions League, that's tough to call that race.
It is really tough to call, isn't it? I put a note here for myself, like, maybe them dropping out of the cup is going to help them actually secure that Champions League place with no distractions whatsoever now, where they can just be like, okay, we're going to make this up to our fans, we're going to get that Champions League spot. It's almost like a re-motivation to get there now.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
Like, from a fan's point of view, that I think McGinn said after the game, like the stadium felt a bit flat. The players felt like they had to turn that around, and obviously like getting the early goal helps and probably buoyed the atmosphere a bit, but they were disappointed with how the FA Cup went, and I think they have to be going hell for leather to get one of these 5 Champions League spots. I think they've probably got a better chance of it than Forest.
That's what I was gonna move on to. I was gonna start a little debate about who you thought out of those two, and I think my hat's in the Villa side of it really, because I think they have the momentum. They also have the they don't have the pressure of not having done it before. Whereas like Forest, we've been talking last few podcasts, it feels like they're maybe getting a bit nervy now. It's getting closer. They do have a few injuries still, with Callum Hudson-Odoi being out, and I just think Villa maybe have that little bit more, and the depth in their squad. It's always going to come back to Villa's depth, isn't it? Like, they're going to be able to go late into the season, and they're going to be able to go late into games in later the season with top-rate players on the pitch that can make differences, and they can make moments. Like, Tillmans can make a moment, John McGinn can make a moment. Like, it's just, I probably would back Villa to be getting that last Champions League spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle get in. I think they've been excellent this season. I would have said Chelsea dropped out, but they've actually had some good form recently, so who knows? Forest, I think, are on a bit of a slide with those like Woods not scoring, injury issues throughout the squad, sort of thing. So Villa, they can definitely get in there. It's just, I think Chelsea play Newcastle as well, and Forest maybe. I think there's definitely a couple of matches left between these teams, so someone's going to take points off someone. So that will be Villa's door slightly opening, and yeah, we'll see if they can get in the top five.
Yeah, I can see maybe Arsenal dropping out of the top five now. Where they're going, so yeah, they can both go in.
Your words, not mine.
Oh, cool. Anything else you want to touch from that game at all?
No, I think we said it all about that one.
Nice, cool. Okay, then let's move over to a game that was classed very, very harshly as El Rubisho. Leicester 2, Southampton 0. I think that's a very harsh term for the game, and we didn't make that up ourselves. We have Vardy and Ayew scoring. My main takeaway from the game before going into actually like the analysis of it, did you see the referee getting fouled?
I did. Yeah, I saw the referee get clarted by Ayew.
What did you make of it? Because I don't know why, and I know I'm probably wrong, but looking at replays, the way the referee goes down, it's like holding his head. I was there like, it looks like a bit of a dive. Like,
he's just trying to save face. He's like, yeah, I'm not coming back out. Like, I'm injured. No, I think it's one of those that like he's obviously not looking and seeing Ayew at all. So I think it just like it's almost like the shock of the impact was actually worse than the impact itself, because the players get hurt more than that, and they carry on.
That's what it kind of is. I know, a while back we had the manager who got like touched in the ear touched in the nose by Mourinho, and he goes down like he's been shot. So we're going to have managers going down now, referees going down. I'm probably being insanely harsh, but you got to remember. Actually, I got to remember. Ayew's like a big cart horse of a man. If he touches you, you're going down because he's an absolute demon. But now, what do you make of the game? I think you have a standout performance first in the game from one of the Leicester players?
Yeah, definitely. I think Bilal El Khanous was the best player on the pitch in this one. Everything good came through him for Leicester. Like the way he was able to turn and like make the Southampton players commit challenges on him, but also the way he was able to find space and create really good opportunities. Like he gets the assist for Vardy's 199th Leicester goal, I believe it was.
One more he needs for the 200 before retirement.
Yeah,
leaving. Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully someone gives him that just for the peace of mind of that record. But yeah, El Khanous was really exciting. He was dribbling. Like it's one of those that I think it'd be really interesting to see if he stays with Leicester next year, because from that performance, I looked and said, all right, that's a player who can play in this league, but might benefit from a season in the Championship, similarly to like how Adel Taarabt came through, and like even Crescencio Somerville last year, where the Premier League looked a little bit hard for them at times, but they showed flashes, but then a season in the Championship was really beneficial for them. Like I think El Khanous could do he could really turn it on in that league.
It really did have like Taarabt vibes, that his performance in that game, didn't it? Like I had that like basically in my head the whole time. But one thing I did bring up, and you kind of touched it in the Brentford game, like, do you think for Leicester having him running the show is gonna keep him in, if they do come back and he stays, do you think him running the show from would keep him in the Premier League, or does he need to find a way to like bring his teammates into the game as well? Because there were a couple of opportunities where he was like running through and he was very much like blinkers on, like, I'm going to do this all by myself, where there was balls he could have like threaded in for Vardy, Ayew to like be looking at it that way. And it's kind of like that trade off between standout player and work as a team to actually keep yourself in the league.
I think it's one of those that I think, like, to my point, he'll learn a lot more of that in the Championship. Like, you play more games, like he'll be starting every week. The quality level is obviously different. He'll be one of the best players in the league. So they'll be created. They'll have a lot more of the ball. They'll be creating more chances. He'll either go either way, probably. Like, he'll either become even like more selfish and he'll get 20 goals, 20 assists or whatever, and or he'll become like a much more unselfish player and he'll like contribute to the team a lot more. It's hard to say either way, but I think there's certainly enough talent in there. He's a young, exciting winger. Like, you don't want to take out, from me anyway, my point of view, you don't want to take that hunger and that desire, that selfishness from wingers at times. Like, that some of the best wingers in the games I've ever seen have been selfish, and sometimes you just need that. And I mean, if Leicester had more of that this season, more performances like that from El Kanous, even if they were selfish at times, like, I think they probably would have had a better chance of staying up. But unfortunately, it's been a little too far between. Like, the goals in this game were like Vardy, you give him space in the box and he's going to score a goal. Like, Southampton just all dropped so deep and went like, defend the line rather than defend the box, and then Vardy's got free space to tap it, essentially a tap in.
I think as soon as that goal goes in as well, the game's done. Like, I feel like whoever got the first goal in this game, I think was going to run out with a pretty comfortable win in the end, in all honesty. And yeah, as soon as it goes in, the 17th, 18th minute, it's just like, okay, Leicester, see how many you can actually get in this game. And then you have Ayew taking a free kick, which I don't know why he didn't more. When he was lining up for it, I was like, knowing he had scored, I was like, he's not scored a free kick, has he? And in my head, I was
it was an awful free kick.
Awful.
Can we just say that?
Yes.
Like, it was a terrible free kick.
Don't worry, I was getting to it because it.
Okay, sorry I jumped the gun. I just wanted... You sounded very complimentary and were like, why doesn't he take free kicks for Palace? And I was like, wait a minute. No. It was a bad free kick.
Because there was a period and then he went away and he scored... I think he scored a couple for Ghana and scored one for Leicester. I was like, why wasn't he doing it? And then you see it hit the wall, it's like, that's exactly why. But then you get the Jordan Ayew magic with the absolute, like, thunderbolt of a thunderbolt, but also a daisy cutter as well. Because it barely gets off the floor, but finds the bottom corner and beats Arm Ramsdale. And then, they're absolutely cruising after that, really. It's just...
Yeah. I mean, what you said about, from a Saints point of view, like what you said about the first goal being key, like, was absolutely on point. Like, the interim coach, Simon Russ, came out after and was like, the team's just got no confidence. And you see that once they go 1-0 down, even though they managed to come back and get a point against West Ham a couple of weeks ago, this game they just were like, it was all Leicester after that first goal, and the Saints just looked like they were so unconfident about what they do on the ball. And I was watching this game trying to think, like, well, what are Saints playing for right now? And it honestly just looks like they're doing a bit of soul searching. Like, I think they're going to have probably quite a high turnover of players in the summer. I think it's going to be quite a different team. Obviously, what direction do they go with the manager is still up in the air for next season. So they're going to look very different. I'm a little bit worried about Saints next season. Obviously, we'll see sort of like what they do in the summer and everything. But it's been a really bad and one of those possibly really damaging seasons for a club. Like, I hate to say it because I've got fond memories of Southampton, having gone to uni there, but I hate to say it, but I worry that they might flounder in the Championship for a few seasons.
It feels like that, doesn't it? Like, you just have to look at what's happened to Luton this last week as well. Like, a second relegation in as many seasons. I don't see it being that bad for Saints, but it kind of shows what can happen if you get to the Premier League maybe a bit too soon. But I don't think when they came up, people said they'd got there too soon. It's that they just needed to adapt the playing style that they came up with. Russell Martin, it just needed to be tweaked a little bit because they weren't going to be able to play that football up here. And
yeah,
it's just, if you get rid of the system that's got you up and you don't really have a true backup to sort it out either, or bring in a firefighter, they're in just a bit of a limbo now. Like you're saying, soul searching is probably a great way to put it. They're going to have a big turnover. It's a big summer to see who they can bring in. And if you're a manager, what type of manager are you expecting to turn up at Saints now when probably the morale between the players is the lowest it probably has been in quite a few years because they've had a good go of it the last 2 years. So yeah, not a great place, I guess, to be a Saints fan, but it'll be interesting to maybe hear from many Saints fans and how they're feeling and what they think the next 12 to 24 months holds for them, really, moving forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, cool. I just also want to say that Vardy goal was the first goal at the King Power, first Premier League goal, sorry, since the 8th of December. So those Leicester fans, I hope, enjoyed that one because I've had times supporting Palace when we were in the Championship and we didn't see a goal down like our end of the pitch for like months on end, let alone in the whole like stadium for months on end. So yeah, I hope they had a good time out in Leicester that night.
The limbs that must have, like, you have to let it all go, let the freak flag fly when those limbs got like when that goal finally happens.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else you took from the game at all, or should we move into a little break before getting into the draws and defeats for our other 14 teams this week?
Yeah, no, this one was a dead rubber, and I think we can move on.
That's cool. Yeah, let's just take a break and we'll be back in a sec. Cool, and we're back. So yeah, we'll look into the draws and the defeats for our other 14 teams this week. Where are we going to start? We're going to start at Goodison Park for the penultimate game there. A 2-2 draw between Everton and Ipswich.
Yeah, definitely. The match going fans got their money's worth in this one. I think. Like, whilst Everton obviously want to win all their remaining games at Goodison, this was an exciting game. It was back and forth, and there were a couple of absolute stunner goals.
They really were, weren't they? Which one do you want to... Should we start with the McNeil goal? Or actually, I know it's not a stunner goal, but let me talk about the Bento goal, because he came out a while back and said he based his celebration like the silencer that LeBron James does. He said he based that celebration off Benteke because it was his celebration, and his goal for a header was very, very Benteke-esque, like absolute like leap of a salmon, and using all that neck power to put the ball past for Alex Palmer in goal. It was just it was absolute stunner. But then I guess the McNeil goal was an absolute like belter as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the McNeil one's really nice. Like the cut he gets on the ball, that it's like always swerving away from the keeper, is just really beautiful to like watch it. It's one of those like you kind of want to watch it in slow motion from like behind the ball, so you can see just like the full sort of like turn and velocity of it, just going away from the keeper, like the despair just in Palmer's eyes as it like goes past him and into that far corner. McNeil, he's obviously had a difficult season. I think he was out injured for quite a long time.
I was going to say, like, he has had injury concerns, but he's been at Everton for a while now, and do you think he's lived up to the potential that everyone was seeing from him at Burnley? Because there was a time when I was like, I'd love him to come in and just be, like, putting, like, absolute stunning balls in for players to get on the end of and, like, score screamers like that. And I just think if Everton fans probably thinking they were expecting a little bit more, and maybe it can come if he gets a good string of games together.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you and say that he's been underwhelming, but I would also remind that Everton have been underwhelming for a couple of seasons, like throughout that time. Like, obviously, I think he joined when Lampard was still there, and then Sean Dyche took over. But throughout that time under Sean Dyche, Everton were pretty grim to watch, and he obviously just played similarly to how he played at Burnley, where I was the same. I thought, he's a good player. Let's see him out of Dyche's sort of system. Let's see what he can do with a bit more like on the ball. I thought he might even go to a bit more of a ball dominant team. But yeah, I think if he can get a run together and Everton, like Moyes, can build, I think he's probably an improvement on Jack Harrison. So I would probably be starting McNeil over Harrison.
Really? I don't know. I back Jack Harrison as a player. Maybe just because of the times I've seen him live, he's been really like solid against us and been really dangerous. But most of them have been sub appearances, I guess. So he has come on and actually like changed the game. I would probably have Jack Harrison ahead of McNeil personally. Is that
well? Agree to disagree.
I don't feel like that's scandalous to say, but yeah,
No, I think it's a very even. Like, I think it's just sort of maybe a taste thing, or like maybe just sort of like. To be fair, like they're pretty similar level players. Like you can, I wouldn't argue this for days, but my inkling would be to give McNeil the start.
Nah, mate, not having it. We're going to argue about this to the bitter end. No.
Let's die on this hill. McNeil versus Harrison.
Oh my god, the smallest hill anyone's ever argued.
That's what this podcast is about. Let's fight.
Oh god. Yeah, should we move on to the Enciso goal then? Because I think it was very, very similar, if not better, than the goal that won him goal of the season last year. Was it?
Yeah. Well, he won it. Was it last year that he won it, or the year before? But he's been nominated for it each of the last two seasons. Like he's had a goal of the year nominee for like the last couple of seasons, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is in there as well.
It's got a bit like obviously biased towards Palace, Brighton, and everything, but that is a fucking strike.
That is an absolute strike, and like I don't know why you give him so much space though. Like Enciso is Ipswich's most threatening player outside of Liam Delap. Like, and Enciso's been in pretty good form lately as well. Like he's sort of like ended the season quite well, and the space that they gave him, okay, it's far away from goal, but okay, but you have to realise the player who's got the ball.
But can you
close him down?
But can you change like your strategy? Because a lot of managers would be happy to just give pot shots from that range. Can you change your whole strategy based on one player having that unique ability? I guess you have to be like, as soon as he gets in a 20 to 30 yard range, have someone putting pressure on him. But then is that going to pull your defensive shape out somewhere else? And is that what Moyes is probably going to be risking? I feel like Moyes is probably going to sit there and be like, keep our defensive shape here, and if they're taking shots from that far out, let them, and back ourselves to miss it. Back ourselves to save it or for them to miss. Do you agree, or do you think you've just got to adapt better to the player that's in front of you there?
I think you have to adapt better, but I do agree that that is probably Moyes like preaching, like, hey, defend the box. That's what he did for years at West Ham. Was just like, don't worry. Like, it's probably one of those that's like, if they're going to score from there, you kind of just hold your hands up to it and go, it's an insane goal. Like, they're probably not going to score that often, but unless it's Enciso, so like you can't really argue with Moyes like thinking like defend the box, and maybe a worldie gets in every now and then, but I think just having the awareness that this is a player who likes to shoot from range and has a track record of shooting well from range. I think just having that awareness would have been an instruction that I would have been instructing like the Everton players to close him down, especially
hammer it down their throats. Basically, what did you make of Delap? Because he had quite an interesting afternoon on Merseyside during the game and even after the game. What did you think of the two challenges?
Well, the first one is just like handbags with Jake O'Brien. Both of them get a yellow card for it. Fine. Like, the funny thing was watching it back, watching all the Everton crowd and some little old lady being like, calm down, guys, calm down. Like, it's not worth it. So that was funny because it was just like, it's just handbags. But then to run into I can't remember which defender it was. It was Branthwaite, wasn't it?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, he just like, I don't think he means it because I don't think Delap is that kind of player. I think he's just running. He's just started like picking up to full pace and he can't stop himself. So he just clatters into him.
Are you thinking it's a second yellow? Because I think it might be a bit hard. I think
it would be harsh.
Yeah, I think what saves him is he's not looking at him when he's doing it. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's running, looking at the ball, and then he turns at the last second, and like Branthwaite's right there, so he's gonna clatter into him.
It just felt like a clumsy challenge. But do you think because of like how silly the first one is, it's like maybe you can't get off with a second one because you've basically given yourself a nonsense nonsense yellow card. So anything you do next is going to be, it's probably just a bit too harsh. I'm trying to I'm trying to debate it, but there's nothing to really debate there, is it? Yeah, I'd say it's fine.
No, yeah, I think that's wrong. I think the right decision was made as much as the Everton fans and players were like baying for it because obviously the first one happened. It happened so soon after the initial yellow cards that it's like, all right, yeah, we're baying for his blood, like get him off the pitch, but. I think it would have been really harsh for him to get a second yellow for that.
Yeah. And
And
then,
yeah,
like you say, they were baying for his blood. But then, did you see what he got to after the game? That has sent Everton Twitter Spaces and rumor mills into fucking hyperdrive. Have you seen
no, what
what
was this?
So there's a house outside Goodison Park where Everton players and ex-managers have gone in. It's number 37, and they sign the wall on the inside of it. So
Oh,
after the game, I believe it was after the game. There's a video of Delap coming out of the house after having signed the wall. So I don't know if he's got any links like to Merseyside or anything like that. But Everton's face is like, yep, it's a sign. He's not going United. He's not going Arsenal. He's going to be going Merseyside in the summer. And I mean, if he is, him and Beto up front would be a bit terrifying if they could find a way to make them work together.
4-4-2 with the biggest strike force known to man.
Could you imagine? But no.
David Moyes would love it.
He would absolutely love it, wouldn't he? I also just want to say, like, talking about Goodison Park, the atmosphere there looked absolutely incredible. Like, expect nothing like less from a stadium that I've been really fortunate and like excited to go to every time I've been up there. Even though I've seen us take like 1 or 2 points in 7 visits or something, but all Evertonians I've met have been lovely. Like, it's a truly beautiful and like proper football stadium, and
Yeah,
they created tifo there that put Arsenal's shambolic little flag to shame. Like
yeah.
it really shows like what a family like atmosphere at a club and what like an actual fan run club looks like and feels like. And yeah, I think that's a nice thing to touch on because it's real positive for Everton, and then maybe a bit of a not so positive to Everton. Have you seen their out of contract list for the end of this
Yeah,
summer?
it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. They had that graphic on Match of the Day, and I'm there like, if I'm an Everton fan, I'm panicking a bit here. Like, there's squad overhaul, and then there's losing your best 3 players. Like,
That's the thing. They've got so many minutes to replace. Like I saw the match of the day graphic. Like there's so many like key performers. Like especially like Gay and Decore players like that. Like
they,
they have to be working extra hard to get those. A couple of them re-signed at least because you can't replace all of them in the transfer market.
no, you can't. But then also, do you think if you have that many players all renegotiating at the same time, maybe some of them have the same agent, or even if they don't, maybe some of them are talking and thinking, well, if he's going to get that much money, I'm going to want that much money, and it makes the negotiations surely 10 times harder. I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying it from a football business perspective, but it's just open yourself for problems and knowing that they are going to need to keep players, because going out and buying a player is going to cost them more than it is probably to resign someone like a Decore or Michael Keane for a few more years.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be one we can deep dive on at the end of the season. I think like how Everton restructure. Like obviously they've got a new manager now, so he might not want half of these players. He might like Moyes might want to bring in half of his players. Like they've already been linked with getting Thomas Souček from us, which would be peak David Moyes. Bring the big Czech man back
Where's
to him.
Where's Fellaini at the moment? Is he still playing? He might be getting a call to come over to Merseyside.
Stephen Pienaar's dusting off his boots as we speak, mate.
Could you imagine? Oh, cool. Well, I think that's everything from that game. Unless you have any other bits you pull out.
No, yeah. As you mentioned, great celebration for the penultimate game. I'm really excited to see what Everton fans do for the last game of the season. I'm sure, like when we moved from Upton Park, it's going to be an emotional but excellent celebration. I think they're going to do Goodison Park proud. So yeah, that's everything for that game.
Yeah, nice. I wish I could actually be up there for that game in some way or form, just to
Yeah,
see
it'd be
what it'd be
unreal.
like. But yeah, cool. Okay, then moving on to one of the draws for our 14 teams: Brighton, Newcastle, a 1-1. Where do you want to start with this one? I mean, could probably start with the Minter celebration.
Yeah, definitely. So this one I think caught a lot of people off guard. Like who I think a fair amount of football fans probably don't know who Yankuba Minter is.
Yes,
Like,
I even asked my Newcastle mate about it, and he's not a proper Geordie, and I guess he's not follow. He follows Newcastle, and he's followed them for a long time, but he's not a proper Geordie. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" He's like, I don't effing know who this guy is." Even
well, I don't think he played for Newcastle at
zero.
all. Like, he was at the club, but he
Yeah.
went on loan multiple times, and I think that he was highly thought of, but I think he had issues initially with like work permits and stuff.
Okay.
So it was like, all right, we'll sign you, but you'll go out on loan, sort of thing.
Yeah. But
And it's one of the reason why he is at Brighton right now is because Newcastle were in PSR trouble. Like, they had to sell a couple players. It's the same reason that Elliot Anderson went to Forest. Like, they didn't want to lose either of them, but they had to balance the books and not get a fine or points deduction, etc. Especially with them competing in European competitions in recent years, that adds an extra scrutiny from UEFA, not just the Premier League. So they had to sell, and Minter unfortunately was someone that they deemed surplus to requirements. They wouldn't have liked to have sold him because he's a talented young player, but the celebration is a bit weird. Like,
yeah,
either that it's just not explained to him, or that all the Newcastle fans sung something to him. But from what I've seen and read, and that it seemed unprovoked.
yeah. What I don't get is when I first started seeing the celebration, he was like pointing at the fans doing a prayer hand, and I thought, oh, it's almost like a sorry, I've scored against you, like strikers sometimes do. But then it turned into like pointing at the Brighton shirt and then pointing down like, this is my home now, and it's just that.
Yeah, it's like I'm here, like this is me, like Brighton over Newcastle, sort of like thing that he was giving off with his celebration.
Yeah, that's just didn't really get it. I mean, there's probably not much more worth touching on it. I mean, maybe there's some stuff underneath it all we don't know, but just a bit odd, really, from what we could see. But then, if we're looking at the actual game itself, I mean, I think Brighton got lucky to get away with a draw here. Would you say, or do you think?
Yeah, I think so. But I do think that Newcastle are almost it was almost Newcastle's own fault that they didn't get a win here. I would rather than say that Brighton were lucky to get a point. I think Newcastle should probably be looking at themselves and saying, we created loads of chances, loads of opportunities, but our finishing was poor. Like, the quality of their shots was poor. Like, they had good XG, they got a penalty, like they got 3 penalties in this game, but 2 of them were overturned. But the actual shots,
reason, I think, as well.
They were both rightly overturned for sure.
Yeah.
But like, the quality of the shots, it was, listening to the commentary, you could have closed your eyes and it would have been, and it's straight out for Bruggen, and it's straight out for Bruggen. Okay, it's straight out for Bruggen again. Like, it was just like, you got to have either a bit more deftness to it, or find the corners a bit more. Like, they were just shooting straight at Brighton's keeper, and I think that's where I say, Newcastle, reflect on yourselves rather than like feel unlucky, rather than feel unlucky or anything. Like, you had the chances, put a better shooting day, and you probably win this game 2-3. Like,
do you think Newcastle will feel unlucky that was it Wuffer didn't get a red card for the second challenge? Did you see that one?
I'm not sure which one you mean.
So it was I'm probably not pronouncing his name.
Weaver.
There we go. So he gets a yellow card off bat, and then second one he comes in and kind of just clatters the player he goes through. It's a bit similar to the Evan Nilsson one from last week, and no second yellow, and I'm just a bit there like, there's no consistency really with it. That's £1 for our consistency swear jar for refs. But yeah, if you didn't see that one, let's not stress about too much, because I think it was probably more of a yellow card probably more of an orange card than it would have been a full red card. But then just going on to, I guess, the penalty itself, Isaac, any complaints with the handball? I thought it was a bit of an odd decision by Brighton player to jump and then have your hands stuck out, just giving it the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Yassine Ayari is doing in that situation. Like, okay, you're jumping, it's in the wall, like, but your hand's so far away from your body, and it almost looks like he like a basketball like touch.
Yeah,
Like he almost looks like he moves his hand to hit the ball, and it's just like, all right, was this just a brain fart? Did you just like completely like lose concentration? But so late in the game, like you need to be like that's pretty. I mean, he's a young player, but like that's pretty damning. Like that's something the coaching staff have to be on him about. Like
100%. Yeah, it was just odd. I mean, there was one more penalty shout maybe I want to touch on in the game is the O'Reilly pen. Did you think that was a pen?
I was surprised the ref didn't give it, given he'd given two for Newcastle that were overturned, and it like, I think it would have been a harsh penalty, but I've seen them given.
Yeah, you nearly wanted to say consistency there because of what him giving the other ones for Newcastle, but you ain't got them. You ain't want to put the pounds away in that jar. I honestly thought, and probably try not to be biased, I thought maybe a bit more of a foul on Tonali from the one angle I saw it from. I think it would have been a harsh penalty, but like you say, if he's given the other ones, he probably needs to give that one as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, O'Reilly looks like he's trying to get his body in front of the ball, and then Tonali comes crashing through. I mean, Tonali put in some weird tackles in this game. Like he's a feisty player. I always said, like, when people were comparing Tonali to Pirlo, he was much more Gennaro Gattuso than Pirlo. Like he's a much more dogged player, much more like willing to get a dirty tackle in. And there were a couple in this game where I was like, all right, Sandro, calm down. Like you're gonna get sent off. Like, and so like so the way he went in on O'Reilly, I was a bit like, oh, he got away with it a little bit, I think.
Excessive force, and that's probably what could have easily turned it into a penalty situation.
Yeah, definitely. It was close to being a penalty. I think it would have been harsh, but it was close, and it was a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and then I just think, looking at Isaac take that penalty, Palace have had some penalty woes in our last few weeks, and I just want to say Isaac takes a good fucking penalty. There's no messing about with it. It's run up and hit that thing into the back of the net, and that's what I want to see from my
old school penalties, not woke penalties.
Why can they not all be like that? I so much prefer it. But yeah, anything else to highlight there for you, or do you want to move on to your team's game this week?
Nah, let's crack on with more draws.
Cool. Okay, so West Ham Spurs 1-1. Were you there yourself for it?
I wasn't, no, because I was feeling a bit down after Friday, so I stayed at home and watched this one on the telly. Thankfully, I did. I mean, it's a dead rubber between two teams who almost like they didn't look like they wanted to be there, really.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from the highlights. It just seemed like an over the top, like neither of these teams are playing well. No one wants to be here. This is an awful game. And
Spurs would have been like, can we just take the weekend off and focus on the Europa League? West Ham have been on the beach for weeks and they're not even playing for pride, really. Like, to be fair, I don't think it was a bad performance from West Ham. I don't think it was a good performance, but it was better. It's been better than some recently.
Yeah.
Like, from an analytical point of view, like, they did some good things. They were getting into, like, they were playing good passing patterns and were threatening Tottenham. I think we were the better team.
Mm-hmm.
But we were still sloppy in possession at times, and, like, no more so than when Kilman doesn't clear his line and just, passes it to Tell. Like, it's... Kilman, I still think he's a good Premier League defender, but we definitely overpaid for him, and we signed him for a manager who's no longer here. So, yeah,
not the best weekend for you. But I think I want to take away like the Bowen goal was absolutely lovely. How he's able to just get it through the keeper's legs at such close range after going on a bit of amazing run himself. But
I mean, Bowen's quality. Like, Bowen has had a good personal season. If, like, West Ham have had an absolutely terrible season, Bowen still can hold his head up high. And I think the only other player who can really is Wan-Bissaka. Like, their connection on the right has worked pretty well all season long. And yeah, Wan-Bissaka, the way that he goes forward and back, like, he's contributed quite a lot in forward areas where we wouldn't have necessarily expected it based off his sort of like career to date. But yeah, Bowen's had a good season. Wan-Bissaka's had a good season. That spark down the right hand side was really all we we had going for us in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one as well. I just think both managers kind of weirdly saved face, even though it was probably not the best performance from either team. I think coming away with a point each, there's no like this was overly bad. Do you know what I mean?
It's like the least headline performance that they could have done. Like the only thing worse would have been that they just went 0-0 and nothing happened for 90 minutes. But both of these teams can't defend, so something was going to happen. And this was like the most it's going to happen, but still be completely unnewsworthy. Like everyone who was at this game, everyone will forget about this game by the time this podcast comes out. Probably
sweep it under the carpet. Let's move on.
Legit, like no one will remember this match in the future. So, but I will say, I do think that West Ham were the better team. I feel like we were playing against Spurs and the ref at times.
Hey, here we go. Finally,
yeah. I'm getting on my
I'm not just the angry one about refs now. It's taken you, 4 podcasts to turn on a ref?
Yeah, no. There were just so many times where Spurs were falling over and getting a foul, and it was just so frustrating. And then I think Davies handballs it in the box and it should have been a penalty. Like the cross comes in, and his arm is away from his body.
Oh,
It's plenty far away from where the cross was taken. Like at least 10 yards from where the cross is taken.
Do you know what I think's done you dirty on that call though? In VAR, when they're looking at it, it's kind of like his body's sideways on and that arm looks like it's down by the side, but really it's kind of like flailing a bit by the side. I think if there was a better angle of it, it was like straight on, it might be a bit like, yeah, that could be a pen. But I think the angles at least seen in the replays, it makes it look like one of those where it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of the body, when it's really like the hand next to the body, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's got away with it. But like, I mean, if there were any more eyes on this game, maybe that would have changed. But anyway, that's enough on that game. It wasn't that like we've talked about that game far too much for what it deserved. Let's move on to your boys.
Okay, let's move on to a game which I was certain was going to be 0-0, but ended up being 1-1. Like I said, unfortunately, I couldn't get back in time because I was stuck in traffic for about 6 hours on the way back from Devon. And yeah, do you know what? I got home and the game was coming to an end. And I was like, kind of not too fussed that I've missed this one. I mean, to begin with, first half, not too much really happening. I think Palace were a bit more on top than Forest. I think both teams were probably cancelling each other out for large portions of it as well, which is fully expected. Both teams want to play counter-attacking football. Both teams want a team to come onto them. I don't think we fully got into the role of waiting for Forest to come onto us because they weren't going to do it. So we took the game to them and had a couple of decent chances. Richards could have scored early on. Munoz has a good shot close range shot that's saved well by Searles. And then, push into the second half. I think Palace keep knocking at the door, but Forest probably looked more like scoring. And then we get the penalty. Would you agree with that? I think that kind of sums it up a bit. Like, not too much happened for the first. Well, we looked good to begin with. Nothing for like 30 minutes. Then,
I think in the first half, like Palace started the better team for the first 15-20 minutes, and then I think Forest controlled the rest of the half. Maybe not necessarily with doing anything, but they were with and without the ball. Forest were controlling what they wanted. Like they weren't letting Palace play their game.
Yeah,
they were letting Palace have possession, but it was all just between the 3 centre backs, and then Forest were able to get on the ball a little bit, but they weren't necessarily creating very good chances. And then in the second half, it just came out end to end. Both teams must have got a rocket up their bums at half time because they just Palace came out straight away we're taking this game to you. Put the tactics out the window. I said the first half was for the tacticos. The second half was for the neutrals. More entertaining, much more shots, much more fast paced. Obviously you get the penalty. Ebbs does his awful run up.
I tell you, I wasn't there, but listening to my podcast and everything, and seeing stuff on socials. Clear penalty. I think it almost should have been a second yellow for the defender that fouls Mitchell in the build-up.
I was saying, bro, I'm so glad you said this. I mean, obviously you were going to say it to get a player sent off, but the commentary was so focused on Sel's part of it, which was secondary to me to Dominguez's part of it. And he was already on a yellow, so Dominguez makes the first contact.
That's exactly it, and I just don't see why VAR hasn't picked it up. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't really trust those people sat in VAR. I don't think they have protocols to actually like follow anything through. So they probably like got it, shit their pants a little bit, and been like, "Oh, is it a foul on Searles? Yes, it is. Let's not worry about anything else." And
Yeah,
then
you
like,
can get away with it, distract by looking at the sales part of it rather
yeah,
than the initial contact, and then yeah, Eze gets the goal. Do you want to say anything
yeah,
about the
yeah.
run up
So
or?
yeah. So like I was saying, we're following on all socials and stuff. He runs up and does the stutter. There's a massive not hush, like gasp from the Homesdale of a gasp slash groan when he does his little
Yeah,
stutter. And if you listen out for it on the highlights, you can actually hear it as well. And I'm just like, fair enough, the balls and Ebbs to be able to like hear that, still keep his composure and like strike it hard enough to get past Sells, because Sells does go the right way to be able to save it as well. So
that I think makes more sense of his like facial reactions after it, where he's like sort of like like looking at the crowd very playfully. Like I
yeah.
think, yeah, it was a good penalty. I don't think it was a great penalty, but he gets enough on it to smash it past Sells.
Yeah, but if he's
And
playing
then
around with that run up in a penalty shootout or in a penalty in the FA Cup final and he misses it, I don't think I'll be able to forgive him. He's done
we
so
can't
many
we
good
can't
things.
can't put those vibes out there.
Oh, mate, you know me.
Chess
I'm on the
chess.com's best player is not going to be doing that in a FA Cup final.
Yeah, he's thinking 3 moves ahead. That's what it is. He knows what he's doing ahead of it. But then, yeah, I mean, then Forest go down the other end and get a lucky goal, but probably deserved as well. I think on the
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they probably deserved the 1-1 was absolutely deserved result. I think for both teams. Obviously, like Palace late on were pushing for the winner more, I'd say,
yeah,
and Eze almost gets a second, unbelievable
yeah, hitting
second.
the bar of that shot. I think it showed a lot, like from what people were saying at the game. It showed a lot that how far we've come this season, going from like nine, well, Val win at nine to now be against a team going for Champions League, and they were trying to respect the point maybe more than we were towards the end of the game. So it shows
Oh
that
yeah,
we've come
definitely.
well.
Towards the end of the game, they were like, we just take the point and move on. Like the Forest throughout this game were doing some dicey fouls. Like I don't know whether that's been a pattern all season, but they were doing a lot of tactical foul. I think it was specifically to counter Palace's tactics
Yeah,
because any time like Sarr got the ball in like around the halfway line, one of the Forest midfielders or attackers was like, "All right, it's my turn to get a yellow card. Let me tactical foul them." I think they ended up with 8 players on yellow cards, 7 or 8.
yeah, it was a massive. I think it was one of the records for the season for the most yellow cards.
Oh,
Which
really?
was, yeah, I think the stat showed in the game as well towards the end. We had 20 shots, which is like a bit unheard for a Palace team, especially like at home as well. So, yeah, I think, do you think that makes it a bit too tough for Forest for Champions League now?
I think so. I think with just the injuries, the Brentford loss on Thursday as well, and Chris Wood's not getting goals any at the moment in time. That the
He did
goals have
have,
dried up.
he had one good chance in the game with a header that glanced that went past the
But that's
post.
the problem is that he's getting chances now, but not scoring
Yeah.
them. Whereas at the start of the season, he was almost scoring every chance. It felt like so. I think they're going to struggle to get one of those 5.
Yeah, I think we've also probably spent a bit too much time on that game than it actually deserved as well. So I've got nothing else to say about that one. Do we want to move on to one of the losses for our other 14 side to a top 6 side in the City 1-0 against Wolves?
Yeah, let's go to Friday's game. I think Wolves were really unlucky here. I thought they've created loads of opportunities, had some really good chances. I think they hit the post twice. Yeah, they really exploited City's high line. I think they're perfectly tactically set up to do so, but it was time and again they were getting through on counter attacks, and it was 3v3 or 4v4, and yeah. How they didn't score in this match, I don't know.
Yeah, I think especially the first 30 minutes, like it seemed like all the highlights I saw were just like Wolves should have scored there, they should have scored there. They had one miss that would have been a tap in that went across the box really early doors.
Yeah, Manetzi has to score that.
Yeah.
Like he's so he's stretching, but you have to score that chance.
Yeah, they're never one where it's a double shot, one saved and then one saved off the line by
Both of them were by eight Nori, I think.
Nori, yeah.
He hits the post and then he gets it cleared off the line.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're just there like, how have they not scored? But I think I've said this last week, and I'll be saying it all the way to the FA Cup. The Kevin De Bruyne departure tour plot armor is going to work for them for the rest of this season. They're going to get Champions League and probably win the FA Cup with it as well, which is
no, we're not having that bad vibes talk.
Nah, you know me, Mr.
We're not. It's going to be an unhappy ending for De Bruyne and Palace celebrations. One of the talking points from this game. What did you think about the 8 Nori challenge, where he sort of he's taken a touch on the ball and then he goes to it's like he's taking his next step. But personally, I think he is very lucky not to have got a red card here, because I think that step doesn't look as natural as it should, and he goes studs onto the leg of the City player.
See, I thought he would have been. I think he's okay with it. If you slow it down and you look at it, red all day. But I think the movement he's taken is I didn't think it was too he's actually tried to get the City player. Who does he get? Bernardo Silva, I think it is. I don't think it looks like he's menacing trying to get in there. I think he's done a little skill over the ball, hasn't he? And he's trying to plant his foot down, and he maybe gets in the wrong place. I might be wrong.
Maybe I'm at fault for looking at the replays too much then. Slowed down, I was like, how is that not given as a red card?
I might be. I do think Aidan Nori has a bit of a hot streak in him, from what I've seen, whenever we played Wolves. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was thinking about a bit of malice in it. But I think it would have been harsh to give a red there. And also, you give a red there, it completely ruins the game. I mean, I want to put a lot of credit out to Wolves as well. Going 1-0 down against City in the first half and then still being in the game until the very end. It's something to be really proud of, and it shows what good form they've been in. It is the end of what their end of the unbeaten streak for now, but every Wolves fan could have left left the Etihad with their heads held high, couldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think they would have expected the streak to come to an end there, and they definitely gave their best effort to not do so, and they were unlucky. But yeah, that's all I've got for that one. Unlucky Wolves.
Yeah, same here. So yeah, we'll take a break now, and then we'll come in with your Peak Barclaysman for the week. Okay, and we're back. So Tom, who do you have for us for Peak Barclaysman this week?
So I've got a Finnish goalkeeper who made reflection saves like a cat. It's Jussi Jääskeläinen, who played for Bolton Wanderers and West Ham during his Premier League career. I'll give you a couple of stats. He made 436 appearances with 110 clean sheets in that time. He obviously mostly known for his Bolton days, but had a little dalliance with West Ham at the end of his career. With Bolton, he got them to UEFA Cup final, UEFA Cup competition twice, and reach a League Cup final. He said his greatest regret was not being able to win a trophy with Bolton, and he was in goal for that famous Bolton side that we'll talk about on Peak Barclays loads with your Ivan Campos, your Djorkaeffs, your Okochas, etc.
And your Big Sam, don't forget the main man.
Well, yeah, Big Sam brought him back to West Ham when he took charge. He phoned up Jussi and got him to come and steady the ship when we got promoted. To illustrate how peak 2000s this player was, he once said the ref was right to send him off after handling outside the box on his personal website, which bring back personal websites, man. We need more players doing blogs after the game. I'm here for it.
Less media managers and more players doing their own stuff and getting it out there. Can only end well.
100%.
Oh man,
100%.
Honestly, just remember him as being a shot stopper, and that's something I feel like is getting missed a bit in the modern day with football. You look, that's all keepers are playing it out from the back and bare with their feet. Jussi Jääskeläinen was just in his Reebok jersey for Bolton. He was putting out absolute saves after saves on shots that would have been screamers as well, going in with look at the old Total 90 ball. I'm thinking that yellow and blue aero ball that they're calling it now. I'm thinking of that every time. Him having that in his hands, or him leaping 2 feet in the air to one side to get
Yeah.
out of a top bin or something like that. I remember saves against like that Arsenal team in their centenary kit, like the burgundy one, and him an absolute blinder against them in that game, like basically scrambling stuff at the line. A big pull against Robert Perez in that game as well. Like it's just vivid memories of that player in my head, and it always like the style of his long hair as well just made him seem like a brute in goal. Like absolutely love the player.
Yeah, I mean, around that time, in one game he saves 2 penalties versus Blackburn, which was an unreal feat for a goalkeeper. Later on in his career, he gets a red card for slapping Roger Johnson in the face versus Birmingham, which every now and then, not against a slap on the pitch. Like I'm sure he deserved it.
So can't get more Peak Barclays than that, really. Do you have any?
You got to have a random one in there, and to give his random fact.
What you got?
Not much about it. Yeah, not much about his personal life I could find online. A bit pretty reserved guy, but in his coaching career, so after he hung up the boots, where he actually played for an Indian team as his last team. I believe he only made one appearance for them before retiring.
I was gonna say, I didn't expect him to be in India playing football. I thought he wouldn't be doing too well with the heat out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Finland to India
The connection is. That's a weird
connection is like, but yeah. But the fact I have for him is that he once took joint caretaker charge of a Wrexham FA Cup match in 2018, having been the goalkeeper coach during that time. They were rumoured to be sacking the manager, so the manager stayed away. They were like, all right, we'll stay. He can stay away from this match. So yeah, Jaskalainen and a couple of the other coaching staff took a joint caretaker charge of Wrexham's FA Cup match in 2018, and then 2 days later the manager was sacked, Jaskalainen either went back to being the goalkeeper coach at the time or he left Wrexham. But yeah, this was pre-Hollywood Wrexham, so I thought worth mentioning.
I was about to say, that's probably the biggest thing that's ever happened at Wrexham. I don't know much about him at the moment, apart from what
No, there were no Disney documentaries when Jaskalainen was around for that brief time.
Not at all. Nothing to do with Deadpool or Always Sunny characters anywhere close to that. But nice, cool. Okay, where do you think he ranks with our Peak Barclaysman at the moment? I would be happy to slot him in above Yannick Bolasie at number 3, but below Luca and Morgan Gams Pedersen. Would you agree?
Yeah, completely agree. He slots in at 3 at the moment.
Nice. I guess we'll get that graphic up for you now, just before we move into our predictions for the weekend. We're back with our predictions now. So, where should we start with the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs? Fulham Everton. How do you feel about that one, Tom?
As I say, with Fulham, I struggle to back them at the moment, but at home against an Everton team who don't necessarily have anything to play for except for pride, but being away from it at Goodison Park, Fulham can hopefully catch them out and keep up a European push. I'm going to go 2-1 Fulham, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I'll back you with that. I think a Fulham win as well. I think maybe they could turn it on as they did against the other team in Merseyside and maybe pull out like a 3-1. I've got a feeling. But yeah, cool. Then going on to the next one. Already relegated Ipswich versus Brentford, also Saturday, 3 o'clock. I'm probably going to go for Ipswich in this one for some weird reason. Wow. Yeah, I just think they're going to have one big performance, I think, before they go down. And with Delap in their team, I think they may... This is going back on everything we said about Brentford in the 4-3 win against United. But I've just got a feeling that they could maybe be caught out of this one. It could be a bit of a banana skin for them. And maybe they think they can do enough just straight off the bat with it. So I'm probably going to go for an Ipswich 1-0 here.
Oof, I can't agree with you there, mate. I'm going Brentford 3-1. I think the bees keep rolling and they continue their late push for Europe. I think, yeah, Brentford 3-1.
No, okay, fair enough. Then moving on to Saints City. I would put this as my lock of the week, but I think it's probably a bit too...
We can't lock we can't lock the top 6.
No,
that's one rule we're doing. Wouldn't it be funny if Saints won or got the point that they need to move away from Derby in that unwanted record in this match? But City might have an eye on the FA Cup final the week after. So, but I can't. I can't back Saints in this one, unfortunately. I think this is a City romp 3-0.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's a very feisty game and a lot of big challenges go in against certain City players. But yeah, I'll go with you, probably a 4-0 City, and gives them all the momentum and confidence going into the FA Cup final against us, unfortunately. But then moving on to the last 3 o'clock on Saturday, Wolves versus Brighton. I think we were talking before, you were finding this one a bit too hard to call out of many of the fixtures this weekend.
Yeah, a really tough one to call out. Obviously, Wolves. I say Wolves have got the better run at the moment. Like, obviously, they lost on Friday, but had an excellent run before that, and they played well. So, I do think Wolves will beat Brighton. Brighton have been a tricky team to sort of judge lately, and they've got a draw and a win in their last couple. But yeah, I think Wolves at home will do this against Brighton. I think it'll be a 2-0 to Wolves.
Yeah, I think I'll probably back Wolves in this one. For some reason, I think Brighton will go there trying to play their style of football when really they should be looking to basically see what Wolves have been doing well at the moment and maybe try and counteract that. And that's where they might come unstuck. I think it's kind of what happened to them at Forest when they lost that 7-0 game. They were kind of not really took into consideration who they were playing. So yeah, I feel like a Wolves 2-0 as well. I think that's exactly what you said, wasn't it? So yeah, and then moving on to the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday, Bournemouth Villa, big one in the European chase. So how are you feeling about that one? Who do you think? Do you think Bournemouth could get the win being at home? I feel like the Vitality could be turned into a bit of a fortress for maybe down there.
A little mini fortress. This one's really hard to call. Both teams in pretty decent form. Both teams one's going for Champions League, one's going for Europa or one of the other spots. I think this will be a score draw. I think I'm going 2-2 at the old Desmond.
Nice. I'm probably going to go. I don't know why, it just popped into the back of my head. I think like a Villa win, maybe a Morgan Rogers or Ollie Watkins go to get it right at a death or something and then cause absolute like limbs in the Villa end, basically hoping the European journey is on for them again. Cool.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon kickoff, 12 p.m. We have Newcastle Chelsea. This one's actually going to be my lock of the week. I'm going for Newcastle to put Chelsea to the sword, really. I reckon this is going to probably be about 4-2 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle will get goals in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a romping victory. I'm going to go 4-1 to Newcastle.
There we go. Get on the 4 train. That's what we're talking about. Cool.
Yeah.
And then we have a collection of Sunday 2:15 kickoffs. Firstly, we'll go with United West Ham. Do we want to even talk about this game? Because I don't think even the teams want to play this game. So,
is this game happening? No one will ever know after Sunday. West Ham should be looking to win this. Like I said the same thing I said about us before the Spurs game. Saying again, we've got nothing to play for. Go and win this game. Get some good vibes in the club. Yeah. I don't really care about the performance. I'd much rather a result in this game. So on that, I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham.
1-0 West Ham, cool. Will United have played their second leg against...
Yeah, I believe it's Thursday this week.
3-0 up in it as well, aren't they? So they might... Yeah, so... yeah. Do you know what? Everyone should be taking points off West Ham. Sorry, off United. Not trying to show you that badly.
My heart.
Everyone should be taking points for United. That's been my slogan throughout. I want to say a win for West Ham, but I'm sitting like a score draw.
It's hard to back, isn't it?
It's hard to back. You know what? You always do good against United. Do you always do good against United, or have I just made that up in my head?
You've made that up for sure. We have a weird record against United. We kind of always struggle at Old Trafford, but do well at home.
See, in my head, I've got like the Carlos Tevez, obviously, to keep you up.
Yeah, some years ago that was, mate.
Some years ago. Then wasn't that your final game at the Bowling Ground against United as well, and you dispatched them?
It was.
See, I've got those
3-2
highlight moments stuck in my head with it.
Also quite a long ago now.
I know. I'm going to go 1-1. That's what I'm doing. 1-1 I think is safe.
Fair.
Cool. Then moving on to what is technically a derby from Leicester, from what I've been told by Leicester fans, but not to Forest, from what I've been told by Forest fans. So could be a feisty game, but I'm thinking it's probably a Forest win in here. You'd be expecting to be able to unlock the Leicester defence with a few balls over the top, the pace merchants running onto it, and Chris Wood being able to hold it up and maybe getting back in goals. I'm probably seeing a 3-0 Forest here, and then they get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, Forest need this one massively, and they're luckily playing against a relegated team, so you would think that they'd be able to bounce back. But yeah, I don't know, man. If Forest play like they can do, then they'll easily win this game. And I think if the right Forest turn up, this ends 2-0 to Forest.
Yeah, I feel that sounds about right. Cool. And then the last game for us to go over, also Sunday 2:15, Spurs Palace. I mean, we have the worst record ever at this stadium. We were the first people to
At
play
the toilet bowl.
At the toilet bowl. We were the first team to play them there. And I think since that game, which was God knows how many years ago, we've got 2 points from them. I've been there and I've seen us get 1 point. So I'm going again with my mum this Sunday. You know what? Maybe we'll see a famous victory to give us the confidence to go into the FA Cup final. But I'd much prefer that we played a weakened side and just got out of there unscathed, really. I mean,
I think Glasner's going to play a strong team. You need everyone fit and firing,
yeah,
ready to go for next week. And I honestly think you'll be surprised. I think that the way Tottenham play is perfectly set up for Palace. Like we sort of said a few weeks ago about the Forest way, like their high line, Sarr, Eze, Mateta, those 3 arrows you've got up front. They'll be able to exploit that. I'm gonna back you boys and go 2-1 Palace.
I'd love to say that, but all I can see is a Spurs janky 1-0, 2-0 win. When's a game ever been described as janky? But I hope people understand what I mean by that.
That's the analysis you come for.
Yeah, exactly.
Janky.
Janky football game.
That if there's anything to sum up the other 14 more at times, it's janky.
Exactly. Cool. And that wraps all our games up from the weekend. Anything you want to touch off before we head off, Tom, at all?
No, I think we've said it all.
Cool, nice. So yeah, like I said earlier, if you want to get in contact with us, you can at socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Reddit at other14FC podcast, and then email if you feel like you want to write in about how your team's doing this season or any Peak Barclaysman that you think we should be covering in the next few episodes. It's other14FC podcast at gmail.com. But otherwise, hope everyone has a good weekend and just up the other 14. I'll catch you next week, Tom.